Hello everyone, my name is Jennifer Maker, and today I'm teaching all about the tools, supplies, and accessories you can use with your Cricut Maker cutting machine, both the original Maker, which you can see over my shoulder here, and the Cricut Maker 3. This is the Cricut Kickoff Lesson 2, and we're going to go through all of these fun things together one by one. Now in Lesson 1 of Cricut Kickoff, you saw that your Cricut Maker cutting machine comes with a few things beyond the machine and the power cord and the USB cable, right? Now in the original Cricut Maker box, we had a blue mat, a black pen, a rotary blade, and some cardstock. There was also a fine point blade that was in the machine itself. In the Cricut Maker 3 box, there was a small piece of smart vinyl for our test, plus 3 full sheets of smart material and a full-size sheet of transfer tape. And the fine point blade was pre-installed in the Maker 3. But there's a lot more tools, supplies, and accessories, and understanding them and knowing when to use what when goes a long way toward making what you love with your Cricut. Now in this video, I will cover the tools and supplies for both the original Maker that came out in 2017 and the Cricut Maker 3 that came out in 2021. The Cricut Maker 3 does have some extra tools and materials it can use, and I'll cover those separately at the end. But when I say Maker, you can rest assured that it applies to both the original Maker and the Maker 3. If something applies to just one specific machine, I will be sure to point that out. Now, before we get too far, I want to remind you about my free Cricut Kickoff handbook, printable handbook that goes along with these lessons. You can download it right now over at CricutKickoff.com. Just register for the class, which is free, and you'll get the handbook. I'll be referring to it as we go along during today's lesson. There's a whole section in here just about today's lesson, lots of checklists and worksheets and all those good things. So please pull up a chair here in my studio and let's get started. In fact, this is a great time. Before we dive into everything, I just want to say 2 things. One, I'm going to both show you all of the tools and supplies that I have. I have most of them, so it will take us a little while to get through them. But I'm also going to let you know what I don't think you actually need. So I'm going to introduce everything to you so you know about it, and so you know what you might need for a project. But at the end, I'm going to tell you what I think a beginner does not need to get, so that you know what to focus on. And then I want to show you the handbook specifically for lesson 2. So again, you can get this free. So in lesson 2, the section starts on page 11. We're going to go over blades, mats, our hand tools essentially. And we're going to talk about then our materials, cardstock, adhesive vinyl, iron-on vinyl, infusible ink, and our heat sources. So that's the order that we'll go in today. I want you to see, and because I had someone ask me about this, I have lists of all of the things that you can use. So here are all the blades that you can use on your Cricut Maker, whether it's the original or the Maker 3, right? So everything is here, and these are worksheets so that you can mark off what you have, right? And same with your pens and markers and all of your mats. And then you can you can make notes of your favorite brands and where you find it, all this good stuff. Lots of worksheets in here so that to help you track and find all of your supplies and tools. I highly recommend this. Print out extra copies of pages that you need, okay? But we're going to start with blades because that's very important, and it's one of the primary things of our cutting machine, right? We need a good blade. All right, so let me set this over here on the side so we can refer to it as we need it. All right, so here is our Cricut Maker 3. For the most part, I'll demonstrate on the Maker 3, but it's going to look really similar to the Maker, so don't let that worry you. There's not a lot of physical differences. There's just really one. I mean, there are some internally, but not on the outside, so there's no issues there. So let's begin with your blade. Right? Now the Cricut Maker, oh yeah, that's from yesterday, I forgot. The Cricut Makers, both the original and the Maker 3, have a lot of different blades. The Maker is the most versatile of all the cutting machines, and even the Maker 3 even more so than the original Maker. So let me show you each blade and explain what it's used for. So the basic all-purpose blade is the fine point blade that came with your machine. The blade is made from German carbide steel, very awesome, and it's very sharp, so always handle it with care. This is the blade that you'll use most of the time. It's either silver or gold, and it looks like this. It has a thick shank here, which is called the housing, and then the blade itself pokes out at the end. You'll use the fine point blade for cutting cardstock, vinyl, and really most materials. Oh, hang on a second. I have to see what I'm doing. Oh, here we go. Now, when you put your blade in, you want to make sure that it is seated well so that it's not raised up too high. I want you to note that it's possible to accidentally put if you're like kind of quick about it, you can accidentally put it in like this. Do you see how it's a little higher? Let me zoom in on that because this is important for all of us on makers. There we go. All right. So do you see how it's not quite seated? Now it is. That's important. If you're ever having a cutting problem, check to make sure that you've properly seated your blade. Okay. All right. Let me get out our other blades. I have them all over here in my tool holder. And I'll switch my camera to the overhead. Okay. All right, so the next blade is this pink one. And this is the bonded fabric blade. But here's the thing, even though it's specifically for bonded fabric, I don't believe that there's any difference between this one and the regular fine point blade other than the fact that it's pink. And because you have a Cricut Maker with a rotary blade, you probably don't even need the pink blade at all. You can use it, but the rotary blade does a better job of cutting fabric, much better. So keep that in mind. Right, now the black blade, so this is the black housing. This is a deep cut blade and it allows you to cut thicker materials. The deep cut blade has a steeper blade angle of 60 degrees and it's made of a harder, more durable steel. I used a deep cut blade to cut cardboard, chipboard, magnets, basswood, balsa wood, stiffened felt, and foam sheets. The one with the blue housing, this is the foil transfer tool, and it comes with 3 interchangeable tips, fine, medium, and bold. This foil transfer tool is used to transfer Cricut's foil transfer sheets onto your projects. You can learn more about the foil transfer tool on my blog and on my YouTube channel. But that's not all. Also in your box with the original Maker, trying to remember, we didn't see it in our Maker 3, right? I don't want to tell you wrong. I don't remember seeing it. Well, just in case I'm wrong, let me grab it. It was our rotary blade. Is this our rotary blade? Yes. I don't remember seeing. Does anyone remember seeing the rotary blade in the Maker 3? This is my 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, my 8th video in 2 days. So I'm a little tired. So I'm going to pause for a second here. I'm going to double check this because I just can't remember right now whether the Cricut Maker 3 comes with the rotary blade or only the original Maker does. If someone knows in chat, let me know. I don't want to tell anyone wrong. I'm just Googling it right now because I can't remember. I mean, I only opened the box yesterday, guys. Okay, it's sold separately with the Cricut Maker 3. Thank you. Thank you, Claire. Thank you, everybody who answered me. I appreciate it. Okay, thank you. All right. I will edit out this little bit so I don't confuse anybody. Okay. All right, so this is the rotary blade that came, and it comes with the original Maker. It's sold separately for the Maker 3. It's always sold separately, right? So this is the rotary blade. So now this blade has a gear at the top. You see this? And this is a Maker only tool, okay, whenever it has a gear. And it has a tiny rotary blade in it. And then this is a gear, which we call the drive housing. And with this gear, your Cricut Maker, both the original and the Maker 3, can rotate the blade in any direction necessary to make the most precise cuts. The rotary tool is used to cut delicate material like fabric, tissue paper, and crepe paper, and it does an amazing job. So this is the rotary tool. You can also buy more of these maker-only tools with the gears. Another popular tool is the knife blade. Let's see. That's not one. This is a quick swap housing one. This is a knife blade. So think of the knife blade as the polar opposite of the rotary blade. The knife blade lets you cut thicker or dense materials like balsa wood, heavy chipboard, leather, craft foam, and more. You can see the tip there, right? It's pretty cool. It's very precise and it does lovely sharp cuts. I use this to make puzzles, leather binder covers, and thin wood projects. People mostly use it for thin wood. Now there are more maker tools that work with the adaptive tool system, which is unique to the Cricut makers. The adaptive tool system is a drive housing that allows you to swap out blades and tips to change what you want. So this means Cricut can keep coming up with new tools for us, and all we have to do is swap them in. So to swap them in, you actually just hold down the tip, and there you go, you've got a new blade. So there's actually quite a few at this point. This is, I don't remember what they are. You know something? I don't have to remember because it's all written down right in here in your handbook. I'm not even going to attempt to try to remember. That is way too many. There's a lot at this point. So on the page that talks about your blades, I have both the list of all the blades and the numbers. Okay, so the ones that I use the most are the scoring wheels, specifically the single scoring wheel, which I don't see here, which means I probably had it out for a project. Let's check to see if maybe it's one of these in the back here. I'm gonna move these out of my way. Is this it? Yes, here it is. What do I have here? I have a lot of tools. That's another knife blade. We don't need that one right now. When you get multiple Cricut makers, you get multiple. Okay, that's another knife blade. Okay. So this here is the single scoring wheel. Let me hold that up so you can see that. It's got 01 printed on it. This is the maker's scoring tool. If you have the maker, you can still use a scoring stylus. We'll talk about that in a little bit. But the scoring tool will do a deeper score. There's also a double scoring wheel, which is this one right here. And you can easily swap that out and put that one in just like this. Right? Now, a lot of people ask me, what is the double scoring wheel or tool for? And that is for thicker materials or specialty materials. The single score is identified with the 01 on the side, right? And the double score has 02 on the tip, just like this. And they're all noted right here. Now, there's also an engraving tip that you can use for acrylic, aluminum, leather, and soft materials. And this is identified with number 41. And it looks like this one. Let's set these over here. And we'll swap this one in. Now note that not every tool can swap like this. Some people get confused by this. So the rotary blade and the knife blade, no swapping. The only ones that swap are the ones that we're doing right now. So that's the scoring tips, the engraving tip, the wavy edge tip, the debossing tip, and the perforation blade. So this is the engraving blade. It looks like this, right? And I think I have, I don't see one project here. We just did one, but I don't see it sitting out right now. Engraving is so fun. We did several engraving projects just in December. All right, so that's the engraving tip. The debossing tool is number 21. So do I have that here? I seem to be missing that one unless I've got it off to the side. I have them all. So this is it? No, this is 2. Okay. Well, the debossing tool adds detailed designs. You put them usually in cardstock, but you can do it in faux leather too. And it's got a tiny little roller ball in the tip. And the debossing tool is good for making pretty cards and gift boxes. And it's got the number 21 printed on the tip. The perforation tool helps you create tear-off and easy peel-away crafts with cardstock, acetate, and poster board. And that is number 31. No, that's the wavy edge. The perforation is number 11. This is it. So you can identify it with the number 11 tip. Let me get that in there. Just a second. Hang on. You just have to rotate it until it's in the right spot. Although, there we go. So you can see what that looks like. Try to hold that up a little closer. So you see how the blade, you see the blade there? Isn't that cool? So it will perforate for you. And it doesn't necessarily, you can just, you can perforate instead of cut if you want. So if you ever want to have something perforated, if you want to make your own tearaway gift cards like I made, you can use your perforation blade instead of making tiny little dash cuts with your fine point blade. So that's pretty cool. Now the wavy blade tool, and that's number 31 right here. This is the wavy blade tool. I'm going to hold it up so you can see it. You see, the blade is wavy. So the wavy blade tool creates a fun wavy edge for a variety of materials. I used it to make the edges on my felt sunflowers on my sunflower dress. You can identify the wavy blade tool with a number 31 printed on the top. Now it's important to note that any blade that fits in the Explorer will also fit in the Maker, but the Maker cannot use the Cricut Joy tools, okay? So the Cricut Maker can use everything except the Cricut Joy tool. The Cricut Joy has its own sized things for its clamp, right? So it has two tools. So those are the only tools that you won't be able to use as a Cricut Maker owner, right? Otherwise, if it says it's for the Explorer, you can use it. So don't worry about that. Now you can get replacement blades, for anything, but honestly, one blade can last a really long time with cleaning. I rarely replace my blades. I usually just clean them. If you do get replacements, you want to get the premium fine point blade, which looks like this. This is for your fine point blade, right? You want to specifically get this one with a white cap. Avoid the ones with gray caps. Those are typically made for older Cricut machines and they're just a bit too long for the Cricut Maker. So you want this premium blade. It cuts the best and lasts the longest. If you get one of the other kinds, it might cut too deep, okay? So if you're having an issue cutting, make sure that you have the right blade. And one more thing before we move off blades is storage. You can use the accessory tray. Let me, and let's back out a little bit here. There's our Cricut. Remember, there's an accessory tray in here. So you can use the accessory tray to store blades in here. They fit in here, right? So you can do that if you want. Remember, there's a little magnetic strip here so you can store individual blades like the Cricut fine point or the deep cut blades. Those are the ones that you want to put in there, right? And it'll keep them from rolling around. Eventually, you may have too many blades for your accessory tray or compartment, or it's filled with something else. And if that's the case, you might want to move up to a dedicated storage unit. So as you could see, I like to use this one right here. Greg designed it for me and 3D printed it on his Pressa 3D printer. Then we have the free files for anyone else that has a 3D printer and wants to use it or is willing to pay someone else to make it for them. It's on my blog at jennifermaker.com. If you don't have a 3D printer, Cricut does make its own blade organizer, which looks like this. So this is Cricut's blade organizer, which is actually really good for the Cricut Maker tools. So it's got these, it's like really easy to put all the tools in. And so I like to put my geared ones in the back here. So you can fit like 4 in the back. And then you can put your other tools, and they just slide on here. So it's pretty, see, you can fit a lot in there. And then you can close this and it unscrews like this. And you can put all of your quick swap tools in the bottom. So this is a really great accessory if you are a Cricut Maker owner and you are using all the extra And there's really room for more down there as well. So this is from Cricut. It's in the Cricut shop. They call it the blade organizer or something like that. And it just screws on like this. Isn't that cool? All right, so those are our blades. So keep track of your blades. All right, now let's talk about mats. I have a page for mats. Not this page though. Here. Okay, so the Cricut Maker 3 can use 5 different mats. Now, if you got the original Maker, you had a blue mat in your box. If you got the Maker 3, there was no mat in your box, but you can still use mats. And you likely will want to use mats to cut anything that's not a smart material, okay? Just keep that in mind, okay? But let's talk about what the mats are. So, mats are adhesive covered mats that hold our materials in place while we cut them on our Cricut Makers. We call these machine mats to differentiate them from like this, which is a self-healing mat. And I'll tell you about that later because it's pretty awesome. You always see me this on my desk, right? So there was one machine mat included in your original Cricut Maker box. There was no mat in the Cricut Maker 3 box. We did use this one in our lesson 1 for the original Maker. We cut the sunflower on it, right? The blue light grip mat is the less sticky of all the mats, and it's best for use with lightweight paper, cardstock, light stuff, right? But there's 4 other mats. Let me get them out. The next mat is the green standard grip mat. Let's give me a little extra space. This is the green mat right here. This is the one I use most of the time. So the green standard grip mat is stickier than the blue mat, right? And it is used for materials like vinyl, heavy cardstock, poster board, and more. The green mat is the one I use almost all the time. When I need a new mat, usually I'm getting myself a new green mat. Next up is the purple mat. This is the strong grip mat and the most sticky mat. This is used for things like heavier, thicker materials, bonded fabric, chipboard, basswood, acrylic, anything that really needs to be stuck well. And finally, we have, well, not finally, second to last, we have the pink fabric grip mat, and that's used for gripping fabrics as you cut them. And it is a little thicker than the other mats, so it's good for use with the rotary blade, and it's designed to release fabrics easily, right? So it won't pull on them. You'll have less fraying and stuff like that. So this is the pink fabric grip mat. And then the last and most recently introduced mat is the Cricut 2x2 card mat. So this is a specialized mat, and this is for use with insert cards, which we'll talk about a little bit later, but this is what it looks like. So you can see it's quite a bit different than the others, right? And there's spots for 4 cards. I do want to note that all of these mats have liners on them. All liners need to be removed before you cut with them. Okay, so just take them off, and as soon as you're done cutting, put those liners right back on to minimize dust, pet hair, all that good stuff that likes to collect on our adhesive mats. Now, all of these 4 mats here, right, that we talked about, all 4 of these mats come in 2 sizes. The standard 12 by 12 inch mat, which I have here, and that's the size that came in your original Maker box. But you can also get these longer mats. This is 12 by 24, right? So this is good for bigger projects. Now, I consider mats to be consumable, and that means they will need to be replaced over time because they will get less and less sticky. But you can keep them going for quite a long time by cleaning them with baby wipes when you notice they aren't sticky enough. So be sure to use alcohol-free baby wipes. Alcohol will remove adhesive, so we don't want to put any rubbing alcohol of any kind on your mats. It's great for if you need to remove it from some, adhesive from something else, but you don't want to remove your adhesive from your mat. And then if you can't source alcohol-free baby mats, you can also use something like Dawn dishwashing detergent. Wash them by hand. You want to wash them, don't scrub off your adhesive, and be sure to let them dry. They won't be sticky again until they've dried. So don't just wash it and be like, oh, it didn't work, forget that. Be sure to let it dry. Okay, so those are our mats. And again, no mats came with the Cricut Maker 3, but you're going to want to get a mat. And if you're not sure where to begin, I recommend you get this green standard grip mat. This may be the only mat you really need. It'll work for so many things. This is the one I'm almost always using. It keeps the stick longer. You know, it works great. So I have many of these. And don't expect your mats to last a really long time. You know, it's not going to last 2 years, right? Unless you don't use your Cricut. And no matter how careful you are, how clean you are, eventually the adhesive will just not be sticky enough to hold your paper. And it's so very important that your mat be sticky for a good cut. Very, very important. It can't be kind of sticky. It's got to really be sticky. And it's got to be sticky. You can't just tape it down. It's got to be actually sticky. Okay. So next up are our pens. You put these away. All right. So let's go back to our pen page. Here we go, pens and markers, because not only is the Cricut a cutting machine, but it's also a drawing machine. Actually, it's pretty awesome. So the Cricut Maker pens are great for writing on cards, making labels, and embellishing paper crafts. The pens are water-based, acid-free, non-toxic, and permanent after they dry. Now, it's important to note that Cricut Maker and Explore pens are sized only for the Cricut Maker's clamp. You cannot use them in the Cricut Joy. And you cannot use the Joy pens in the Maker. The clamps are different sizes, right? So when you get pens and markers, make sure they indicate that they're for the Explore or Maker. Let me give you an example. I have lots of pens to show you, but let me find one that says which one that they're for. There we go. This one says. So this is a pack of Infusible ink pens. I'll explain what those are. But right here it says Cricut Maker Cricut Explore Air 2. So these work in your Maker. If ever you see pens that say they're good for the Explore, they're also good for the Maker. So don't let that worry you. It's just that for a while there were only Cricut Explore pens, right? There was only Cricut Explore. The Maker was introduced later. So some packaging will say Explore only, but if it fits in the Explorer, it fits in the Maker. All right, so here is our Cricut Maker 3. To insert a pen, we open the clamp right here. We remove the cap like this. You want to hold the bottom of the assembly like this and press the pen into it. I like to put the arrow facing the front so we can see, and then it snaps into place. You close the clamp, and super important, put your lid on your pen so you don't lose it. And that's how you put a pen in. Really easy. Pens are fun to use, but there's a lot of different pens. So let me show you some of the different pens. Lots of different. So we're going to put this one away because we don't want it to dry out or anything like that. Go. Be sure to put your cap on. Also, I recommend that you store it tip down or on its side. Okay. All right. So pens. Okay. We have so many pens. All right. Let's begin with the most basic pen set. If you're only going to get one to try it out, this is the one I recommend right here. And so this is a great example. So see how it says Cricut Explore? It still fits in our Cricut Maker. Don't let that worry you. This is a great pen set because it's a multi-pen set and it has different sizes and styles in it. So it's good for you to learn which one you might like. So it comes with the standard fine point marker. So if you got a Cricut Maker 3 and there was no pen in your box, this is the same. This pen right here is the same as the one that those on the original Maker got, right? So it's the same pen you'll see me using in lesson 3, okay? This is a 0.8 tip, and it tells us on the back which I think. So you can see the size of the different pen tips right here. Let's see here. I'm trying, it doesn't actually tell me now. Usually all the pens say on the side, but I can't read the side. Anyways, well, whatever. It might be a gel pen. I think it's, oh yeah, it's a glitter. So you can see it's kind of sparkly. It's a glitter gel pen. Okay, so we've got a fine point pen, a glitter gel pen, a 1-point tip, and this is a marker. I would call it a marker. And then we have two 2-point tip pens, and these are chiseled tips, so they're calligraphic. So you can see what kind of shape each of them makes. So this is a great place to begin if you are new to pens, because it's, you know, a wide range of things. And I have many tutorials on using pens if you want to dive deeper into those. But there's so many pens. So in addition to these, you can go a little finer. These are 0.3 tip. These are extra fine pens. You can also get this set in like gold and silver. You can get lots of colors with the Ultimate pen set. They make this for both the fine point tips and the markers, so tons of colors. Let's see. Oh yes, this one. They have glitter gel pens. They have opaque gel pens. These are perfect for dark materials, black, browns, burgundies. They're opaque, so they look amazing. Let me give you an example. This is one of our most recent projects. You see that? Holiday calories don't count. This is the cookie mix. This was all made on the Cricut. So there's no printer involved. Isn't that cool? That's an example of that one. I would like those cookies. I want to make those. Let's see here. Glitter, more glitter gel pens, quite a few more. These are some of the newer pens. So this packaging is newer than this one, but they all still work fine. And one more special one. Yes, here we go. Where's my example? Hang on a second. I gotta find my card. Oh, here it is. Okay. So these are a new introduction to the Cricut pen and marker and lineup. These are watercolor markers with a water brush, which can make beautiful things like this card. This is one of our designs. We introduced this just a few weeks ago, maybe not even that long ago now. There's a whole set of these bird cards and a practice hello card that you can learn how to do your watercolor markers on. A lot of fun. Anyone can do these. I just saw a post in our Facebook group showing it was one of our crafters, and she showed that it was her daughters or her granddaughters did it. One was 7 years old, and her peacock was amazing. You can totally do this. So your Cricut draws it, and then you use the water pen to blend it. Isn't it amazing? Can we just marvel at how awesome that is? Yes, so that's super cool. I'm really excited about the watercolor pens. So another specialty pen that you can use on your maker is Infusible ink pens. So Infusible ink is a type of sublimation ink. You may have heard of sublimation. It's been trending in the last year or so. I put out lots of videos on it recently myself. So sublimation is really cool because it allows us to transfer full color images to sublimation ready surfaces, and then it like infuses right into the surface and becomes a permanent part of it. It's not like a sticker, you know, or something that lays on top. It becomes part of the surface itself. So it's really neat. So Cricut makes pens and markers that will draw the infusible ink for you, so you can put them onto, you know, you can make shirts and tote bags and ornaments and all sorts of awesome things. So they have lots and lots of infusible ink markers and pens. So these are markers with the 1-point tip and lots of markers. These are also markers. They also have pens. Here are pens. So this has the smaller tip here. And they also have freehand markers. So I want to call your attention to these because these won't fit in your maker. These are for you to use with your hands. Right? So don't get these and then think that they will fit. So it says freehand markers. So they're really cool. They're great for drawing your own pictures and then putting them on. Just don't get these and expect them to fit in your Cricut maker because they won't. So there's many more. There's many colors, all the different types. And this is an extra fine one. It'll always say on the side what it is. So it says right here, extra fine point, 0.3 cardinal red, right? And then on the end, it'll has an indicator for, let's see if it'll focus first. There, see, it says XF for extra fine. So it's always, and I'm putting that back into my tool holder. Remember to put your pens in, either store them on their sides or tip down. Okay, so let me show you how I store my pens, because everybody asks me how to store pens. So I'll just assume you want to know, because I have, as you can see, I have a lot of pens. So what I do is I have a tool cubby, which, and let me switch to the other view so you can see it from the front first. It looks like this. So you'll notice that everything is being stored on its side, but I can see all of my colors because I've got the end out, right? So I can see it from the end. So let me give you a closer view. Oops, wrong camera, sorry. Here we go. So here are my pens. I have them organized. This is Infusible ink, and these are regular pens. By the way, if you aren't sure just by visibly looking, regular pens with regular ink have this white barrel, or they have the see-through barrel, like this for the extra fines, whereas Infusible ink has the full color on the barrel, okay? And remember, the end of the marker shows, or the pen, what type it is. So I can see at a glance the color and the type. M is for marker, F is for fine point, and then we've got XF here for extra fine, and I saw a GG for glitter gel, G for gel, right? So lots of different ways to identify your pen or marker, right? Isn't that awesome? So this is from the makers of the Dream Box. The Dream Box is the big craft cabinet that you see behind me here. You've probably seen me use it if you've watched my videos. During Maker Academy weekend, we store all of our projects in there. We get them out. So you might have seen me use it, but you can get just this tool caddy if you want. I think it's ideal for organizing pens, and it's super portable. I just move it around. It fits in my Dream Box, but I have it out right now to show you. And of course you can, there's lots of ways you can go really simple and just get yourself a mug and put them in. Just put them in tip down. Okay. So those are our pens and markers. And let's see, did I cover all of them? There's always one that I forget about. Let's see. We've got the fine point with the 0.4 tip in black. Remember, the original Maker came with one. Oh, here it is, right? But the Maker 3 doesn't. So for lesson 3 tomorrow, you'll want to get yourself a pen, right? You can get them at the store. Craft stores have them. Now, a lot of people will ask me, what about other brands of pens? I did do a video where I tested different ones, but your mileage may vary. You're welcome to experiment and see what will fit in there. Just keep in mind they might not click like the Cricut pens do. Oh yes, there is one other pen, and that is the Cricut washable pen. That's what this one is here. It's a washable fabric pen. So this is used if you're going to cut fabric on your Cricut Maker. And it'll let you mark your seam allowances and darts. I love using this, and it washes right out when it's done. Okay, so a lot of people get the Maker so they can cut fabric, so I think this is a great one. And whenever I do a fabric tutorial, I tend to use this pen, so you'll see me using it. All right, now let's talk about tools, because there's really a lot of tools that you can get for your Cricut Maker. Some are useful, some are less so. The ones I recommend you get, and the ones that I use all the time, are the scraper tool, the weeding tool, and the scoring stylus. These are my 3 go-tos, so let me tell you about them. So first, the scraper. Put this out of the way. This is the scraper. The scraper is great for getting all the little bits off your mats. so let's go find our mat from yesterday. Here is our mat, right? And I saved this because I told you I was going to show you how to remove this from your mat. So, and this is true regardless of which maker you have. You just may not have seen me demonstrate it if you have a Maker 3. But you'll get it yourself a maker or a mat. So you can remove the little bits from your mat just by going like this and peeling them up. It's super time consuming, and it can even hurt a little bit if it gets under your nail, right? So instead we use the scraper and we just go like this. So much easier. So I have both a small one and a big one. This is the big one. This is the small one. Let's move this out of the way. Both work. If you do a lot of paper crafting, you might like the big one. If you don't want to buy a scraper tool, you can really use like a old store loyalty card, some kind of plastic card like that. So in a pinch, I've used, my credit card or my old Kroger card, because I live in Michigan and we have Kroger. I don't know what you all have where you live, but we have Kroger and Meijer. Those are our two grocery stores. So I've always got some kind of old card that I can use in my hotel cards. Those key cards, that's a great one to use. Let's put our mat back on, our cover back on our mat. Always put your covers back on your mats before you get them dirty. Okay, so that is the scraper tool. Highly recommended. Probably the first thing I'd recommend you get. The other great use for the scraper tool is when you're putting vinyl onto a surface, you'll both scrape it onto the transfer tape and then you'll scrape it off of the transfer tape onto your surface. So this is probably maybe the second most useful tool. It always depends on what you're doing, right? All right, the next tool that I think is extremely important is the weeding tool. The weeding tool is used to remove the excess vinyl from a cut, which we call weeding. And this is how you get all of those little bits out that you don't want and don't want to transfer to your project. I will also use the weeding tool on intricate paper craft projects as well. Let me show you how this works. So from yesterday on our Cricut Maker 3 project, we cut this. Right? Remember, we cut this on the Cricut. So in the video, in our lesson, the screen said to just peel it off. So, I showed you how you could peel it off. But most of the time, we're going to want to use our weeding tool to peel up vinyl, not just our fingers, right? So to do this, we just kind of can poke it, right? That's what I usually do. I just poke it like this, and then I'm able to peel it up. And then sometimes what you see there happens, and you can use the tip of your tool to keep it in place while you fix it, because that's not uncommon. Let's see if I can fix that. I kind of set it back down. Looks like it's attached. There we go. Let's fix that too. The weeding tool is great for fixing things. By the way, when you get these little bits, get them out of your area right away, or they will migrate back into it. So see how our C has kind of come up? That's from me messing around yesterday. Usually it won't come up like that. But this is not ruined. We can put it back into position. That's not very good. I've had many letters come up over the years, and I just put them back into place. Sometimes it takes a little trial and error to get it in a good spot. That looks good. All right. So, but you'll notice that it didn't come out of this little area right here. Let me zoom in so you can see this a little better. There. All right, so this is the inside of a letter is called a counter, and usually we use a weeding tool to get these little things, right? So we're just going to poke the tip of the weeding tool underneath, and then we can lift it right up like this, just like this, right? So a weeding tool is super useful if you're going to do vinyl crafting. And these little bits of vinyl right here, you want to make sure they get out of your area. There's lots of different techniques and methods for how to do this. One of my favorite ways is to use this tool here. It is not made by Cricut. It's made by a company called Tweaksy, and it's intended to hold bottles of nail polish, but I use it as a weeding container. So I just put it on my fingers like this, This stays in place, moves around with me as I go, and then I can take that little piece of vinyl and I just go like this, and it's off my weeding tool, and I can continue weeding. So that's how we would do that. So the weeding tool is super useful to have right along with the scraper. Okay, now the next tool that I personally use is the scoring stylus. You might be surprised. Now, you know, we do have the scoring tool. Let's take that out and look at it. Let's switch. So there's the housing, but let's swap it with the tool itself, which I think is right here. Oh, that's a double. Here it is, right? So we're going to just swap that out. You might be surprised. I'm going to explain to you why I like my scoring stylus better than my scoring tool. Oh, by the way, one little tip. A lot of people get confused. So this is the scoring tool. See how it's got a round blade? I see a lot of people confusing it with this one. They do look similar, but they're not the same. Okay? So the scoring tool says 01 on it. This rotary tool, which is this one in my left hand, doesn't have a number on it. It's also not a quick swap housing. You can't like just depress the top, right? So they are different. They're round, but not the same. Okay. So this is the scoring tool. Okay. So the scoring stylus, let me explain what this is. So this is the scoring stylus, and it's useful to have even if you have the scoring tool, because you can put the scoring stylus in clamp A instead of clamp B, which is where this one goes. And that means you can score and cut without having to change tools. So I often just use my scoring stylus with my maker. Most of the paper crafts on my blog have some sort of scoring involved. It is a simple tool that makes a big difference in paper crafting. Note that if you don't plan to do any paper crafting, you don't need either of these accessories. But I think that the scoring stylus is awesome. This one does a deeper score, but you know, I don't know that it's worth it. And just to make sure everyone knows how this works, it goes in clamp A where our pen was. I'll move this over a little bit. So it just goes right in here, just like the pen, and then you clamp it, right? And it'll do A first, and then it does the cut. So you don't have to swap it. Whereas if I'm using the scoring tool, and I'll put that in, and it goes in here just like this, the gears mesh up there, and then you close it like this. So if I was doing this one, I would first score it, and then your design space will tell you to change it. Well, I like not having to change it. So I am willing to have a slightly less deep score so that I don't have to go over and change it, because then I can, just go on and do something else. So that's me. That's me to a nutshell right there. I will take all the shortcuts I can. You can use whichever one works the best for you. All right. So, and then one other thing I want to know about, actually, since we're talking about it, a lot of people ask me about this plastic housing that's on all of these geared blades. This is not like something you're ever supposed to remove. It's there for your safety, so that if, let's say, you were leaning over and some of your hair like dangled near the gear, it doesn't get caught. This plastic guard stays on your tools. Okay, don't take it off. If it pops off, contact Cricut about it. I've heard of that popping off every once in a while if it's not in correctly. They can help you out, but keep your plastic on your gears. Okay. One more tool I want to call your attention to is the spatula. It looks like this. It's like a little tiny little spatula. So this is used for removing materials from your mats, but it's more like materials that you want to keep, not like the scraper where you're just like, I don't care, just scrape it off, right? So you use this for like usually small pieces of cardstock that you want to remove from your mat without damaging them, right? So little intricate, delicate things you'll want to use with your spatula tool. I don't use it quite as often. because I don't really have an issue removing delicate things from my mat, but in my tutorials I will mention that you can use it. So if you struggle with getting your cuts off your mat, you might like the spatula. All right, another thing I do use more and more often in fact, is the brayer. So the brayer is an optional tool. Some people love it, others rarely use it. I've been using it a lot more. The brayer is just a big rubber roller that helps you stick stuff down to your mat for cleaner cuts, right? Cricut says it's for fabric, but a lot of people use it for vinyl and cardstock too, including me. And I find that if you're having issues getting your material onto your mat smoothly, or you're having a problem with clean cuts, the brayer is super useful because it really pushes that material down onto your mat. So here is our blue light grip mat. Let me zoom the camera back out so you can see more. There we go. All right, let's take off the mat cover. So let me get a piece of paper. So when you put your material on your mat, you always want to line it up in the top left corner, right? So I always just put I don't just put it down like this. That's just hard. I kind of angle it down so that I've got that corner and I can kind of move it around until I have it in the right spot, right? So it goes down like this, right? And then I smooth it out. So a lot of people just stop there. And if it works for you, it's totally fine. But if you're having issues with clean cuts, use your brayer and you just roll it over and it pushes it down into that adhesive. And so even if your mat isn't so great, this does really help to keep it on your mat and not moving around. And that's how you get clean cuts. Okay. So definitely try this. And remember, and this is especially true for those of you who didn't see me use the mat yesterday. So all my Maker 3 people, when you want to remove material from your mat, you flip your mat over onto your work surface and you roll your mat away from your cardstock. This bending, see how I'm curving it away? You can see how it's releasing it right away. And that's because I'm changing the angle of the adhesive, right? I'm actually kind of opening it up and it will release itself. And when you do it this way, instead of taking it off from the front, you minimize all that tearing and wrinkling and weird stuff that happens. This is how you always want to remove it. And then you don't get curled paper and tears. So always do it that way. And then don't forget to put your mat back onto your cover back onto your mat right away, right? Just like that. Okay. All right, so another tool that I find handy is the True Control knife. There's one in a package, all nice and pretty. Here's mine that's well loved. So the True Control craft knife is it's a craft knife, but it has a special razor sharp nonstick blade. You probably saw me using it when I opened up the box yesterday. Craft knives are useful for doing manual cuts, and sometimes that means a project that almost cut all the way through, but it's hanging on by just a tiny little bit for whatever reason, right? And you can easily cut that with a craft knife. This one, and actually this one, they both are. This one is actually special. It's not just a knife. It's actually a 4-in-1 tool where I can change the tip to be a weeding tool instead. There's 4 different tips here, see? I love this tool and I use it nearly every day. I love it. So if you use the True Control knife, you'll also want a self-healing mat, like this one right here, the kind that you always see me using. This is it's not like the one you put into your Cricut. Instead of it's extra thick and it's used for your craft knife, right? And it's self-healing, and that means it's made up of tiny separate little pieces of material which are pressed together tightly to create what feels like a solid surface. But when you cut on it, the blade actually goes in between those tiny pieces and it separates them rather than cuts into the surface. And thus we call it a self-healing mat. I always craft on one of these mats, usually this nice big one, because I find it's not only can I cut on it, but it's easier to keep clean than my normal work surface, right? So this is a Cricut self-healing mat. And this mat, and it's kind of hard to show you because I've got everything on top of it, but I'll see if I can. It's actually double-sided. You always see me with this pretty side out. I'll see if I can show you the other side. The other side has numbers on it, right? You just never see this side, but if you like to have a grid, you've got a gridded side. I like this side because it's pretty, and then it's easier to show on camera. So, and it looks nice. They come in different sizes. There's a 12 by 12 inch size. This size here is actually the 18 by 24 inch size, so it's pretty big. And this is the green one. They have a blue one, a pink one, and a purple one too, with different patterns actually. So really cool. So that's the True Control knife. It's awesome. So I'm going to put that back away. Okay. So I think we've covered most of our major hand tools that are important. There are, of course, there's more that you don't necessarily need, right? Lots of tweezers. I rarely use my tweezers. In fact, most of my tweezer applications or uses are not really for Cricut things. They're for like sublimation when I'm removing a sheet of paper. So they're there if you need them. I just don't use them at all. Let's see, what else is there? There is, oh, that's a scoring stylus. We definitely use that. This weeding tool, I'm gonna hold that up so you can see that better. This is sort of my nemesis. Let's get that to focus. Do you see this little tip on the end of it right here? Which is different than, let's say, our other weeding tool. This is the one I showed you before, the top here, right? You see how it's got a nice sharp point? Let's get that focus for us. Focus, there we go. Hold it still, there we go. Whereas this one here at the bottom, it's got a little hook on it. I have to hold it still so it'll focus. Let's just put it down. You guys can see it, right? So that little hook, some people love it. I hate it. I hate it. I hate's a strong word. I really dislike the hook one. So maybe you'll like it and you'll want to use it, but not me. So this comes in like the weeding kit. This is the standard weeding one. So use this one if you like it, not me. Let's see, there's also a piercing tip. I don't really ever use that one, hardly at all. And be careful with these tips. They are sharp. I like to put them down in my tool holder so that I don't poke myself. Okay. I'm sure there's plenty of other things. There's a rotary blade. I don't really use that for much. So, you know, maybe cutting fabric, right? That's fine. These scissors here, they come in the basic toolkit. They're actually pretty useful. They're very sharp. So I love that they have a little thing on here, but they're actually really nice. They're basically for paper crafting. So they're nice and sharp because, you know, paper needs to have nice sharp scissors. So this is a good pair of scissors, and they're small. So I like those. But I think we are now up to talking about our materials because that's a lot. So I think we should switch to materials, and I think we'll start with cardstock because generally I recommend that beginners start with cardstock. Our first project tomorrow will be a cardstock project. Cardstock is it's less expensive, so you can get yourself a pack of cardstock and not feel bad when you will waste material. Do not expect perfection. There is no perfection. First of all, don't expect good enough even from the beginning. All right, it's unattainable, right, in the beginning when you're learning. So get yourself a nice pack of cardstock. I'm going to show you my favorites. And start there. Even if you think you just want to do vinyl, this is a great way to learn your Cricut. So I've got lots of cardstock here, a nice big stack. I have much more than this, but I'm not going to overwhelm you. I'm going to show you some of my favorite brands of cardstock and tell you how to differentiate them. A lot of people ask me about that. Okay, so basic cardstock is 65 pound or 80 pound cardstock. Most cardstock will tell you on the cover, like right here, it says 65 pounds. That's usually how we categorize our cardstocks, is by weight, which really means it's by the thickness of it. So 65 pound is a medium weight cardstock. You can also use 80 pound. This says 80 pound right here. These two are excellent brands. Got Recollections here and AC, which stands for American Crafts here. Cricut makes great cardstock, as does Cardstock Warehouse. Those four are my go-tos for cardstock, and I mostly just bounce around between those looking for the right weight, the right size, and the right color. You know, because there's so many different colors, right? I recommend for a beginner, this pack here is a great start. This is a pack of Recollections 12 by 12 inch 65 pounds. I believe you can get it from Michael's, but you can definitely get it from Amazon. It is high quality cardstock. It's very important for getting good cuts. And it's also solid core cardstock. So if you look at the side of your cardstock, you can see all of the pretty colors, right? And that means it's solid core. That means the color goes all the way from it's not just printed on the top, but the inside is white, for example. It is the color it says it is, through and through, right? That is a higher quality cardstock, and when it cuts, it's going to look nicer too, because you won't see white outlines around all of your cuts. And so this is solid core. Sometimes they say, I don't think this one says, you don't need it to say, you can always just look on the side, right? And American Cardstock right here, another awesome brand. I also recommend this. They sell their cardstock in variety packs too. And you can see here also solid core, right? Lots of nice colors. This is the primaries pack. It's a great place to start. You can see all of the awesome colors right here on the back. And this one does say solid core. This one is 80 pound right here. Also totally fine. 65 pound and 80 pound, they're mostly interchangeable. Don't stress about that. The only times that you would worry about that is it's better to use the lighter 65 pound if you want more light to shine through, if you're, say, making a shadow box. And it's better to go with a heavier cardstock if you're making something three-dimensional that needs to have structure. But that's mostly it. Otherwise, I don't personally care. I don't care. I'll use either one. Here is some printed cardstock. So this won't be solid core. Whenever it's got a pattern like this on it, it'll be white core because it's printed onto white paper, of course. And if you look at it on the side, you'll see it's white. Here's another example of printed cardstock. Comes in cool patterns. Sometimes you can even get like foils, right? And if you look at it on the side, also white, right? So this is white core, and this is the only way you can get printed cardstock. It's still fine. You don't really notice the white outline after you cut it because it's printed. It's got a pattern, and this is to be expected. I will use this. I like this double-sided cardstock in particular when I'm doing like 3D things, like making, when I want to see both the inside and the outside. This brand, DCWV, they sell this at Michael's, as I recall. I think I've also seen it at Joann's, and it's on Amazon, and they're really good at making these packs of themed paper, right? Okay. Then, of course, we can get specialty paper. This is Cardstock Warehouse, which is a great brand, and this is a sparkle, and this, you can see it's like a glitter, so this is awesome. Clear Path Paper is also a good brand, and this is just a plain old 65 pound yellow cardstock. This one has a lot of different colors. It's useful. Here we go. You can see all of the colors. It's not in this pack. This is all yellow, but these are all the colors this company makes. That's really nice to know. Like, if you get this, save this, because then you'll know what you can get. Now, I want to show you a couple things to be careful of. All right, so this is Cricut Smart Paper. Now, smart materials, we're going to talk a little bit more about those, but smart materials are used on the Maker 3, and they do not need to have a mat. You can just put them right into your Cricut Maker 3 without needing a mat. But smart paper is actually sticker cardstock. It is not like a regular piece of cardstock. On one side, it has adhesive, right? So you are only going to want to use this kind of paper with certain projects. Like if you're doing a card and you're putting, you know, like anything that you might have used glue on the whole thing for, you would use this. It is a little trickier to cut, I found. So this is not a substitute for a paper like this. Okay, so it's a specialty paper. You won't want to use this paper for tomorrow's lesson either. So everyone who got the Cricut Maker 3, you got a piece of that paper in your box. It looks like this. It's just a piece of white paper. On the back it says Smart Paper Sticker Cardstock. I have a tutorial that shows you what you can do with this. This is awesome for making labels, but you don't want to use it for your lesson tomorrow, okay? All right, so that's smart paper, so just be aware of that. This is foil transfer sheets. We use foil transfer sheets with the foil transfer tool that I mentioned earlier. So they have these big sheets. So this is not regular paper. This is to transfer foil onto paper. And then we have other specialty things like clear acetate sheets. One of the many things that you can cut in the Cricut Maker, and these are cool, like you can see here, great example, cute little box. We use them for a lot of projects. We use them for, let me just show you one of them because it's sitting right over here. Here it is. We brought this project out just a few days ago, and we used the Cricut acetate for this shaker box. See, the number 2, and we put little pom-poms in there. So this is Cricut acetate here, this exact same stuff. Isn't that cute? All right, so you can cut this. This is it's got a cover on both sides, so you want to remove that before you cut it. Cricut also makes some other cool things. This is foil poster board, a little thicker than like 80-pound cardstock. It's more like light cardboard with this beautiful foil on it. They make awesome glitter cardstock. I love Cricut's glitter cardstock. Here is some of it. Nice, huh? And sparkle paper. There's a lot of Cricut specialty papers, all of which you can cut on your Cricut Maker. So it's really pretty. Look how sparkly it is. Isn't that gorgeous? It's awesome. All right, and then at the bottom of my stack is one that I will caution you against. This brand, Park Lane, I've had a lot of issues cutting it. Your mileage may vary, but I haven't had great results. So this is available in the craft store, but I will steer you away from it because I've struggled with it. And, you know, it might change, you know, by the time you're watching this video. Maybe it's awesome. I hope that it is. But I recommend the other brands over this brand so that you get good, clean cuts, okay? Another thing that's really important with paper is your humidity levels. If you live somewhere in the country or the world, really, because Jennifer Maker reaches people around the world, if you live somewhere in the world where you have high humidity, be very cautious with how you store your paper, because paper and humidity and cutting machines don't go together very well. As I discovered this summer that I had no air conditioning. So if you do live somewhere with high humidity, bring your paper in where you have air conditioning. If you don't have air conditioning, store your paper in like a plastic bin with some desiccant gel packs so that it absorbs any moisture that does get into your container. I also recommend that you keep your paper in its original packaging. So a lot of them come in plastic like this, and this pack is opened. I just opened it really carefully at the top. You can see here, right? And so it's still mostly enclosed in its plastic, and that will help with its humidity, right? It's easier to protect it in this plastic. So be cautious of your paper and protect it. If it does get humid, you know, it gets moist from humidity, you can dry it out. I had this happen. So all of the last summer, our air conditioning went out. It took us a while to get it fixed. And so I know my paper is just out in my craft room at home, and all of it got so damp. It was crazy. I thought it was all lost, but once our air conditioning came back, well, I did two things. One, I started putting my paper into plastic bins with the desiccant gel packs, and that helped tremendously. And then when our air conditioning came back in and it sucked out all that moisture from the air, after a couple of weeks, my paper was back to normal. So all is not lost if that happens. All right, so that's cardstock. And again, that's where I recommend you begin if you are a newer, if you're new to Cricut. All right, so let me also show you vinyl. And we're going to do vinyl. There's actually so much. So the next most popular material I would say is vinyl. There's quite a few vinyls. Let's start with the basic. This is the basic vinyl. Move everything else out of the way. Our cookie mix out of the way. There we go. All right, so this is the basic vinyl. It is called premium vinyl. That is your code word for adhesive vinyl. There's two main types of vinyl. There's vinyl that has a sticky back. When you touch it, it's sticky, and that's premium vinyl, okay? Adhesive vinyl is another word for it. Craft vinyl, you'll also have it called. The other kind of vinyl that is used is vinyl like this. Iron-on vinyl. It'll say strong bond at the top if it's a Cricut brand. So these are your two main types of vinyl. This is used for signs, mugs, glass, that kind of thing. And iron-on vinyl is typically used for fabric. So shirts, tote bags, that kind of thing. You can mix and match them. You can definitely put this kind of vinyl onto, you can put iron-on vinyl onto wood, right? You don't really typically put premium vinyl, adhesive vinyl onto fabric, however, unless you're going to wear it for like one night. So if it's fabric, you pretty much always want iron-on vinyl so that it will stay when you wash it. But we use this mostly for signs, shadow boxes, things that it's going on to a rigid surface. We use the premium vinyl for, and anything that goes on to a flexible surface, usually we use iron-on vinyl. That's the basic rule. So premium vinyl comes in a lot of different types. So there's permanent, which you see right here. And it says permanent right here at the top, right? And then there's removable. It says that right at the top here. The biggest difference, besides the obvious one, is like people always ask me, where do you use which one? So we use permanent on things we don't intend to ever remove it from, right? We want it to stick there for a really long time. So mugs and signs and car windows usually, because that's exposed to the elements. Removable vinyl we'll use on walls, on appliances, on a party glass that we're going to remove, the following day. Anything that we want to remove and not damage the surface is what we use with removable vinyl. All right, and then there's all sorts of other things. We have holographic vinyl. This is all adhesive vinyl. And textured metallic vinyl. There's a lot. We have glitter. This is, shimmer. This is shimmer. And there's also glitter. I just don't have it here. And this is true brushed. So there is a, kind of looks like metal. Can you see that? It's got sort of a satiny look to it. So all the colors, all the textures, all of it. This is just a very tiny sampling of the adhesive vinyl that you can get. And now I want to note that when you're using these three, for all of these, you need transfer tape to transfer onto your project. For these three basic adhesive vinyl, you will use, not this one, this one. You will use this transfer tape for it. This is the regular transfer tape. It just says transfer tape, and it has gray grid lines, okay? But for these three, or anything else that's textured, so that includes this textured metallic, this vinyl shimmer, this true brushed one, and glitter, you need to use the strong grip transfer tape, okay? So that's how we get our vinyl projects on. If you're not sure what I mean by that, watch one of my tutorials that includes vinyl you know, specific, like a sign or something, and you'll see how we transfer it to the tape, and then from the tape we transfer it onto our surface. I just want to make sure you get the right transfer tape for your project. When I went to the store the very first time looking for transfer tape, because I had no idea, I didn't do any vinyl crafting until after I got my Cricut the first time. I stood there and I saw these two. I saw this regular one and I saw this one that said strong grip. And I thought, well, strong grip sounds better. I'm going to get that one. The problem is that I was doing this kind of vinyl. And if you use strong grip transfer tape with regular non-textured vinyl, it won't release. It'll be stuck to it. Or if you can get it off, it takes forever. So you don't want to use strong grip if you don't need it. You will be unhappy. So you want to save the strong grip for the textured stuff and use the regular gray gridded line stuff for everything else. Okay? Any other adhesive vinyl. They all of Cricut's vinyls that need transfer tape, they all say premium vinyl. As far as I know, I guess this one doesn't. There's always going to be an exception, but generally they'll say premium vinyl if you need transfer tape. Something else a lot of people don't realize is that if you need transfer tape, or sorry, if you need strong grip transfer tape, there should be a piece in the end of your roll. So I'll show you. I opened this one up earlier. So this is glitter, and I'll untape it so you can see. So glitter is textured, and if you open it up, you will see that there is a piece of strong grip transfer tape hidden at the end. So if ever you have a pack of vinyl, so when you go to the store, just get the regular stuff. Right? Get this stuff. You'll need this stuff for your projects. You feel free to get any other vinyl you want. If you're unsure if it needs strong grip, open it up and see if it's got a sheet in there. If it does, you don't need to go buy it because you've got it. Usually you can reuse this too. Okay, so you're good to go. I mean, it's rare that you actually need a whole roll of strong grip transfer tape. So yeah, and what else about that? I feel like there's something else I wanted to tell you. Transfer tape can be a little confusing if you've never used it. Like, what do I need that for? How does it work? Watch one of my tutorials and you'll understand more about all the transfer tape thing. I didn't understand it at first either. Just get this kind, not this kind. Okay, now there are other vinyls, specialty vinyls. Let me show you a couple of those. There's quite a few. There is window cling. So you can make window clings for your window. It comes in a variety of colors. And there is chalkboard vinyl, which, you know, you put up and you can write on it and wipe it away just like a chalkboard. And there is dry erase vinyl, so that you can put, as they've done, that think that this is on lockers, but you know, a lot of people like to use it on their refrigerator, so you can write your own notes, make cute little shapes. And there is stencil vinyl. Now, of these, you may or may not need transfer tape. Typically, I don't use transfer tape with the window cling. It just sort of peels off. You don't really need it. You probably will need transfer tape for the stencil vinyl, the dry erase vinyl, maybe the chalkboard vinyl. It depends on your shape. If your shape is really simple, maybe not. So specialty vinyls that you can get from Cricut, there's quite a few. Okay, so those are all of our adhesive vinyls. And before I move on to the iron-on vinyl, I'm going to show you one other thing that some people get confused by. So give me just a second to put all these up so we have some space here. There's a lot of vinyl. Oops. Oh no. One of my vinyls escaped. I'm amazed that this has lasted as long as it has and hasn't fallen over. Okay, so let me show you. There's actually two here. You'll see these at the store too and be like, what the heck are these for? So this here is party foil. It's not even adhesive at all. It's used to make streamers, confetti, hair bows, that sort of thing. It's actually like a fancy acetate. So I would say it's what it is. It's more like a film. So it's not vinyl, it's not sticky, okay? And then there's this adhesive foil. So this is more like a vinyl, but it's not. It's still like an acetate with a foil on it that is adhesive. So a little bit more confusing. You would still want to use your transfer tape for this though. So, but very pretty adhesive foil. Okay, so if you see those things in the store, that's what they are. Okay, iron-on vinyl. Let's talk about that one. So this here is the basic stuff. And it says everyday iron-on it. It also says strong bond at the top. This is just, they put it on all of their, Cricut puts it on all of their iron-on vinyl, and it looks like this, comes on a roll. Okay, so it always shows the color here and the size here. But you can get it in many different forms. You can get, first of all the colors, of course, but you can also get it patterned iron-on, and you can get holographic iron-on, which is like foil, and you can get this one that's like sequins. And there's more. There's meshes. There's sport flex, which is for stretchy fabrics and like sportwear. There's probably something else I'm not remembering. There's definitely other like metallic and foil ones. There's tons of them. You know, I have many tutorials on iron-on vinyl if you're curious about how to use them. But if you're just starting out, this is the one that you want to focus on. It's the easiest one to work with. It comes in lots of colors. You can layer it to get multicolored images without worrying about it. And it's, you know, it's probably the most durable of all of them. So that's iron-on vinyl. Okay, let's see here. And then infusible ink. There's really a lot, so we might skip around a little bit here. In fact, I see something I should address before I go to infusible ink, and that is the smart materials, because we have smart materials for both of these types of vinyl. Let me pull them out and show you. Okay, so right over here, smart vinyl and smart iron-on. Okay, so the smart materials are for my Cricut Maker 3 users. If you use the smart materials, you don't need to have a mat, right? You don't use a mat. It goes right into your Cricut, just like yesterday in lesson 1 when we did the test cut. So you don't need a mat for these. You can put them on a mat, okay? So if my original Maker users accidentally buy this kind, you can still use it. You just put it on your mat, right? Anyone who has scraps can put the scraps on a mat and cut them, right? So this vinyl is usable by anyone. It's just if you want to cut it without a mat, you need to have the Maker 3, not the original Maker. It may cut without a mat. You might be successful in cutting it, but it's not made to, and you might also not be successful. So it was never designed to use with this material. Okay, so just keep that in mind. Some people have been successful at it. One more thing that comes in this smart material is the smart label. So that is writable vinyl, because normally vinyl, you can't write on it. It'll just wipe right off. But Cricut puts out a special vinyl that you can write on, perfect for labeling things, right? And if you couple that with one of the permanent markers, then you are all set. So they make the smart label in removable and permanent, and it's available in black, white, and they even have some that's like a paper, so it's not really vinyl, but it's like paper colored, like brown paper, right? So, but this is, of the vinyls, this is the one. So those are all options, and again, you can use them on any Cricut. You just have to cut them to fit your mat and put them onto a mat if you're not using a Maker 3. Okay. Now, infusible ink. I've told you about the pens and markers already, but you can also get infusible ink in transfer sheets. So they come in solids like this that you just cut them. And I'll give you an example of one. And then you can also get them in patterns. So this is rainbow, and this is black shapes here, and the ever popular buffalo check, right? So the way that they work is you cut shapes, you cut them words, pictures, whatever, and then you can transfer them to sublimation ready surfaces. And this is an example of a project that we did last year. This is this transfer sheet, and we cut out the shape of a present and we put it onto this ceramic ornament. See? Look how beautiful that is, right? See how smooth it is on the surface? There's no edges, right? You can see that, right? It infuses right into the surface, creates it permanently dyes it with the sublimation because the ink goes right into it and there's no feel to it. It just feels like the ceramic. Now this is a special sublimation ornament. It's not just any old ceramic I found. So when you use infusible ink, you need to either use one of the Cricut blanks, because they do have them. For example, this is their ceramic coasters. So it needs to be, says it's compatible with infusible ink, or it needs to say it's a sublimation blank. There's many, many of those. So you can use it either or and both, right? So lots of uses for that. So many different colors and many different patterns are available for infusible ink. And I think that's all of our materials. Oh, I take that back. We are missing a couple. I want to talk to you about fabric and things like wood. I have some of that over here because your Cricut Maker does a great job of cutting those. So give me a second to put these back. Okay, so let me get some fabric and wood out, and some of the basically the special materials that your Cricut can cut. The Maker is particularly good at, whereas the other Cricuts are not. Okay, so thanks to your rotary blade and your knife blade, you can cut a lot of special things. So for example, fabric. This was all cut on the Cricut Maker. This is one of our projects. This is Jennifer Maker fabric. Isn't it cute? But you can cut fabric on that pink fabric grip mat using your rotary blade. It does an amazing job. Here are some of my favorite fabrics. This is just cotton, but you can do pretty much all of the material. Felt is very popular. Cricut for a while was putting out some fabric. This is some of their fabric here. It's hit or miss whether you can find it. It's really cute if you can though. And it's all like ready to go for the Cricut, and I like that. Okay, so basically all the fabrics. It doesn't have to be special Cricut fabric. They just offered some for a while. It could just be whatever fabric from the store, right? Something else your rotary blade can do is cut crepe paper. This is not possible on the Explorer or Joy at all. But thanks to that rotary blade, you can cut it and make gorgeous paper flowers. Like this is Leah Griffith crepe paper. Look at her flowers. Those are made out of crepe paper. Yeah, and this is one of her packs. She has a lot of different packs. Leah is awesome. All right. I have lots of random stuff here. Okay. So with your knife blade, you can cut things like thin wood. So this is basswood, and this is a Cricut brand. It doesn't have to be Cricut brand, but it does need to be 1.5 millimeters or less. Right? So you see how thin this is, right? I want you to see here. That's important. You have to look for this. If you look at my tutorials, you'll find links to it. It can't be any thicker than this or it won't cut, okay? And so also basswood and balsa wood, not plywood. Plywood will not work. But let's see, do I have any veneer here? Yes, I do. One of the things it does really well is cut wood veneer. Cricut makes some gorgeous veneers. See, aren't these lovely? So you can cut wood veneer. Veneer is very thin, but it looks amazing. So, and I want to caution you about some people, and just today I saw this, you can't make super crazy intricate designs even with wood. If you're using the knife blade, all of your cuts need to be at least a pencil width away from each other, or they might start to kind of it might just start to fracture on you, right? Because it has to do a lot of passes. So if you need a project that has super intricate cuts, Cricut is not the tool for that. You're going to want to use something like a Glowforge laser cutter. But for a lot of other things, it does work fine, like cutting out, I like to cut out names in this. So bigger wood projects, right? So not tiny little ones. I have tutorials on this if you need, also on the wood veneer as well. And then also with a knife blade, and I'm running out of room. Let's move our fabric out. And our wood. All right, so you can also cut heavy chipboard. This stuff is amazing. You see how thick this is? It's not this thick. I'm going to hold it up a little bit more. See? So it's the same thickness as the wood, but it does cut cleaner, right? It won't fracture quite as much. So you can make amazing 3D structures out of this stuff. So I have projects where I've used heavy chipboard too. So this is a maker-only material. And then you can cut faux leather. Here's some of the Cricut brands. It doesn't have to be, again, it does not have to be a Cricut brand to work on the Cricut. What's important is that it be not too thick, right? You have a tolerance of, let's go back over to the Cricut, to fit underneath your roller, your blade and your roller, it is 2 millimeters. That is the maximum. So if you're going to say engrave some acrylic, your acrylic needs to be 2 millimeters or less, or it won't fit under there. Or it might seem like it fits under there, but weird things happen. Like if you ever see like a double image on your acrylic, it means it's too thick because it basically pushed it out of the way when it went to do its second cut or second engraving, okay? So that is the maximum thickness that you can put in. But when it comes to like wood, it's like 1.5 millimeters. It just won't cut all the way through, okay? So there are some differences there. And it doesn't cut acrylic. It will cut acetate, but not thick acrylic. That's not a thing that's going to happen on your Cricut. If you need to cut acrylic, like thick acrylic, you would need to use a laser cutter for that. All right, did I miss any material? I'm sure that there's something unusual I didn't mention. I have cut pretty much everything that you can cut on the Maker. We just did a project, in fact, where we cut Minky. If anyone knows what this is a furry fabric. This was cut on the Cricut Maker, and we sewed it. We sewed it, of course, on our machine. But look at this. Look how furry this is. This was cut on the Maker with the rotary blade. Isn't that awesome? Isn't he cute? We have a tutorial. So if you're interested in how to cut fabric, how to sew, we have a number of tutorials on how to do that with your Maker. Same for engraving, all those fun things. Lots of ways if you want to deep dive into any of those things. All right, so I think the only thing that remains then is extra accessories. So heat presses is a big topic because both our iron-on vinyl and our infusible ink need heat to activate. So I put some on a cart here to show you. All right, so here we have the Easy Press. The Easy Press was the first heat press that Cricut introduced. It's an excellent place to start. It does many projects. This is the 9x9 size. You can go larger too. And it will do both iron-on vinyl and infusible ink. You can use your household iron to do iron-on vinyl, but you cannot use a household iron to do infusible ink. Okay, so when I first started doing iron-on vinyl, I used my iron at home. And then for Mother's Day that year, Greg bought me a Easy Press. That's pretty typical. There is a mini Easy Press. It looks like this. Got my cubby on top of the little cord there. There we go. This is the mini. It's very tiny. It's super cute. Very affordable too. It's great for small projects. It's totally fine for iron-on vinyl. It does, you know, it's not great for a big project, but it's okay to start with. It does also get hot enough for infusible ink, but it's not great for a big project again, right? It's good for tiny stuff. There is a hat press, which has a curved platen so that you can do both iron-on vinyl and infusible ink on the brim of a hat. And it comes with this hat forms for your hat. The mug press, which is back here for doing infusible ink and sublimation mugs. And Cricut sells them. So here's some of their mugs. They have a bunch of different styles. In fact, there's a ton of stuff in the Cricut world. When I first started doing Cricut Kickoff, I thought it was a lot of stuff, but not anymore. Now I'm like, oh no, they have brought out a lot of things, and it's all really awesome. Actually, I don't have any. I pretty much like Cricut everything, except for just a couple things. Like I don't like their sticker paper; it's too thick. And lots of blanks, right? And it'll say it's compatible with infusible ink. This also works for sublimation if you get into sublimation, and vice versa. Anything that works with sublimation will work with infusible ink because it's just a different form, right? So, and the only other thing I don't have sitting over here is for heat presses is the Cricut Auto Press, which is a larger heat press. There's not quite room for it. It's pretty awesome. I have a video all about that if you're curious about it. All right, and then three more things, three more things. Yes. Okay. Let's make some space here. Okay, let's flip that over. All right. So the Bright Pad. This is the Cricut Bright Pad. Looks like this. It is a light pad, and we use it for weeding and tracing or just being able to see things because it has a light in it. There we go. See that? So, and you can adjust the light. It can be dimmer, right? No, it's kind of hard to see this. Let me flip my camera over to the overhead. So this is the light one, but you can make it brighter. Here we go. And it's great for seeing your cut lines when you're weeding. So if you're struggling with weeding, this might be useful to you. This is the Bright Pad Go that doesn't need to have a cord once it's charged. And there's also a Bright Pad that is corded, and so you need to have it plugged in. So whichever one you want. And then if you're still struggling to see things, another thing that you might be interested in is the Cricut Bright 360, which is a lamp. And I have it sitting right here. I have the floor model over here, but there's also a desk model. And this is it swivels 360 degrees, called Bright 360. And you can lower it and raise it just like this. Super easy to use. And it turns on like this. And you can go quite bright. And it's got warm light, and it's got bright, cool light. And you can put it right in the middle of the little sliders there. And so if you combine this here, right, you can see amazing. If you still struggle to see, I recommend these little beauties. This is a pair of magnifying glasses. I love to use these. This magnifier here swaps out so you can change the strength of them. And it also has a light on it. Oh, it's on. It's just so bright here, you can barely see. So if you ever struggle with seeing, here are three options for you. People use them in different ways, but having light from the bottom, so you can bring this back so you can see a little bit more with my little kitty over here. Having light come up from the bottom, light from the top, and then magnifying what you're seeing will make a huge difference, and basically there'll be nothing you can't see at that point. So I love these glasses. They're very useful. Let's turn off the light though, so we don't use the battery. So this is the Cricut Bright 360, and this is the Cricut Bright Pad. These are not Cricut brand. They sell, there's lots of different brands. This brand is Yakto-sun. I will show you a link where you can find them though if you're interested in them. I have like all these little things that I've been talking about. I'll show you the link for those. All right, so let's swivel that out of our way. There we go. We'll leave it turned on. We'll turn it off later. And one more thing I want to show you, and this one is a Maker 3 only accessory, and it is the roll holder. So let's get that out. This is the Cricut roll holder. It will only work with the Maker 3 and Explore 3. And let me explain why and what it does. So let's switch over to this one. I'm going to back it out a little bit too so we can see a little bit more of my desk. So this is the roll holder, and it's intended to hold rolls of material, smart material specifically, so that you don't have to cut them out, right? So it comes on a roll, so it makes it easier. And the way it works is that there are these little guides here. They're only on the Maker 3 and Explore 3 on the lid, and they fit in these channels that you see right here and here, right? So it goes right on like this. Slide this onto here properly, right, just like this. And then to use it, you want a piece of smart material. Here's some smart vinyl, and it allows you to basically to use it without having to cut it, right? You know, you can still use it without cutting it, but it keeps it a little neater, and it's got a little nice handy feature in it. So we just put this into the receptacle here, a little curved thing. It goes under the little thing like this, and then it goes right under the guides. Let me stand up so I can get this under here. I don't think I have this actually. Oh, I guess it's in right. Let's scooch it back a little bit. And then it goes right under the guides here and here like this, and it just will, it's all ready to go, right? So that's how the roll holder works. So you can keep your stuff on the roll and not have to cut it off. Again, you don't have to, it's not necessary. This is not required and it is optional. I honestly don't use it that much. Some people love it. I'm just not one of those people that loves it. So it does have a trimmer on it. So once you're done cutting, right, you can just use the trimmer, and then you can just take your part of the, you know, your roll away and pack it up away. It won't work on the Explorer, the original Maker, or the earlier Explore models. This is a Cricut Maker 3 or Explore 3 accessory. And, you know, I don't know, it's cool, but you can also just have it sit here like this, right, while you're cutting. You can just sit right there. It just will do that, right? But once it's grabbed by the rollers, it won't. So, you know, everyone has different things that they like. It's probably not one of my favorite things. Because it's nothing wrong with it. I just don't use it very often. So that means I don't really need it, right? That's what I find. So this is all a lot of stuff, don't you think? I sure think it is. So what I want to talk about now is the things I don't think you really need. Probably don't really need the roll holder unless you think it's cool. If you do, awesome. But let me tell you a few more things that I don't think a beginner needs to worry about, okay? Because it's very overwhelming, in my opinion, to see all this stuff and think, oh my gosh, what do I get? What do I need? All right, so first, I really don't think you need replacement fine point blades. Use my aluminum. Oh, did I tell you about my aluminum? I didn't. Did we talk about keeping the, okay, then we didn't. I can't remember. This is my third video today, and I did do it in both of them, so I get confused after a while. So I think I mentioned, talked about blades, and I think I mentioned that I keep mine clean with aluminum foil. So I don't buy replacement blades hardly ever. I use the premium fine point blades, and then I just keep them clean, right? So you don't need to buy them. You don't need to buy replacements all the time. Just don't do it. It's not necessary. Instead, what you want to do, I'll show you. I need a little bit more space here. Sorry. I need to move some things. Okay. That'll work. Okay. So this is my Reynolds wrap from my kitchen, as you can see. So you just get out a sheet of aluminum foil like this. That's all you need. And then you just ball it up into a little aluminum foil ball like this. Make it nice and tight like this. So this aluminum foil will clean your blade. It doesn't sharpen them, it cleans them. So let's get out our blade. Oh, here it is, okay? So this one particular does also work with the deep point blade. But this is the one that you're going to want to keep clean most of the time. And all you do is you push the plunger down like this. And you place your ball right here and you poke it. Carefully. It's sharp, so please be careful. But you just poke it like 30, 40, 50 times like this. And what it will do is it will clean off any little bits of glitter, any adhesive, any chunks of paper that came off while you were cutting. It will also remove oxidation. This is a piece of metal and little bits, I know there'll be a little oxidation on there over time. And it will remove it, and it works amazing. I have been doing this for a long time, and I don't buy replacement blades. And so if you think about the thousands of projects I've made, my team swears by this, and so do everyone, basically everyone who follows me. So do this. Just be careful when you do it. Don't poke yourself. If you're worried you'll poke yourself, you can use rubbing alcohol instead. Some people like that instead. I personally prefer this. But rubbing alcohol will also help to remove the adhesive and maybe anything else. Just make sure you're using like a little wipe or something like that so that you're not cutting yourself when you wipe it, okay? Be cautious. Please always be careful. Safety first. So I don't think that you need to buy replacement blades at all. Unless you nick yours, right? That's the only reason. It's very rare for that to happen. So, I mean, I can count on one hand the number of times I've had to buy blades, and mostly it was so I could teach you about blades. All right, second, I don't think you need every color and type of vinyl or cardstock, even though you may be tempted. I recommend you buy your supplies on a project-by-project basis to avoid stockpiling too much and getting overwhelmed, okay? And third, you don't need to try all the different types of materials. You really don't. Pick one. I recommend the paper craft as your first one. Do it from start to finish, and then move on from there. It is important to stay focused for success. You don't need all of the accessories. You just don't. I know there's people who, they seem to collect them. You might be one of those. I'm not putting you down if you are in any way, but I don't want you to just collect your supplies. I want you to make things. What I prefer you do, instead of buying all the things and then not using them, I would prefer that you get just the things that you need for one project that you really want to do. Then do that project, finish it, and then move on to the next one, and then get just the supplies you need for that one. That's how I do it, and I think that works really well. Of course, after a while, you will have a number of supplies like I do. But I'm not collecting them. Everything I've bought, I have used, right? So I do have some that are still in their packaging. This is typically, well, transfer tape I use like you wouldn't believe, but a lot of times I bought these specifically to teach you about them. So if it's a project, or sometimes I have extra, I will often, if I have to do vinyl, I'll have to get 2 rolls, not 1, because I make mistakes. And I don't want to go to the store to go get another roll of vinyl. So I will do that. But typically, I only get what I need for a project, right? And I want you to do the same thing. I don't want you to have so many supplies and tools that you feel overwhelmed and intimidated by it all and not sure where to start. Okay, this is a big deal. So focus just on the tools. Get like the basic starter toolkit with your scraper and your weeding tool. Those are the 2 big ones that you need. Don't bother with a scoring tool. Don't bother with all the maker tools if you don't need them. Your maker and your fine point blade, here it is, will do so many things. This is the tool I use for almost everything. Our fine point blade. I'm trying to get that in there. There we go. Fine point blade. It really does so many things. So focus on that in the beginning. You don't need other things. Okay. Okay, let's see here. Oh, I see a comment. I cleaned my true knife blade with foil also. Yeah, so this is not my original idea, just in case anyone has wondered. People have been cleaning their scissors with tin aluminum foil for a very long time. In fact, I think that's where I got the idea. Um, I don't treat my scissors with kid gloves. I have many scissors in my house. We use them for many things. I don't have special fabric scissors and special paper scissors. It's just unrealistic for the way that we do things in our house, and I have a child who likes to craft. It's just I gave up on that a long time ago. So I'm always cleaning my blades, and I also have some blade sharpeners that I can use at home too. So I don't ever have to worry about it because I just do that. So I think that's where I got the idea. Just clean that blade and it'll work. It doesn't sharpen it, it's just cleaning it. Some people get confused by that. All right, so let me show you where you can get some of these more unusual things. I have a website, of course, but I have a specific page where you can find them. I'm going to go to I'm going to go over to a browser, and this is over at makeracademy.com/Cricut discount. You can see the link right up here. It also works at jennifermaker.com/Cricut discount. I just keep everything here on this one page. So first of all, at the top, any of these tools and supplies and accessories you've seen, with the exception of the heat presses or the cutting machines, you can save 10% with this code that Cricut gave me. Note that this code will probably change the next few days, so always come back to this page to see what my most recent discount code is. So you need to order at least $100 or more, but you also get free shipping in the US. And then this link here, which is my affiliate link for Cricut, will take you there. And if you use my affiliate link, we earn a small commission, but it doesn't cost you anything extra. You can use it if you want to support us, but it's not necessary, right? It's not. I care that you save money. That's the only thing I mostly care about, and that's most of the only reason why I have this here. If you scroll down here, I have my crazy magnifying glasses here. My weeding ring is here. And then this is literally a link to Reynolds aluminum wrap. You probably don't need that. And then yesterday in lesson 1, I told you about the Bluetooth adapter. If you don't have Bluetooth on your laptop or computer or whatever, a USB extension cable if you need to reach further. And then if you have the Explorer one, you can get an adapter so it works with Bluetooth. And those are all here. And this link will actually take you to Amazon that has these things here. There's the Reynolds wrap. So a couple other, like a weird case. I don't know why that's in there. So like I talk about the cases. I think I just get rid of that. I don't even know what case that is. That might have been Cricut's case. I'm not sure. These are the 6 things that I talk about here. So you can always find that if you want there. Now, I also want to note that all of my tutorials, they always give you the exact tools and supplies we used. We're very particular about that. So I'm going to go to my blog. It's at jennifermaker.com, right? I have hundreds of tutorials. And if you scroll down to any one of my tutorials and look for that's not a good example because it's not yellow. One moment, let me find you a better one. This one, we just talked about this, the plushie. Aren't they cute? All right, if you scroll down on this page, it's usually like halfway down, you'll see a yellow box, materials to make. This has the exact things that we use to make this, whatever the project is. So in this project we used, this is the same fabric, the same thread, the same scissors, the exact things. So it's all right here, the sewing machine that we use, everything. So whenever you see something, you're like, what did she use? There is a list, and each of these things that's blue and linked, it goes right to the item. So if I click on this, it goes to Amazon and it goes to the exact fleece that we used, right? So it's all linked in here just like that. Here's the Minky fabric, right? So all of it, it's all here. So if you are ever in doubt about something, just come to our blog, look up one of our tutorials, and you'll see the exact tools and supplies. And of course, our videos and blog posts, because most all of our projects these days have videos. So here's a video that shows you exactly how we made our cute little kitty cat and dog. And it shows you how we used all of our tools and supplies too. So There's really a lot of resources out there. So hopefully this was a good overview of the Cricut tools and supplies that you can use with your Cricut Maker Original or Cricut Maker 3. Probably missed something. If I did, I apologize, but I probably will have covered it somewhere or will cover it. But if you have any questions about any of the tools and accessories and supplies used for your Cricut Maker, please let me know. I love to help. Just leave your question below this video, or better yet, come ask in our Cricut Crafters group at jennifermaker.com/CricutCrafters. It is an awesome group. There are over 500,000 of us, really, who are all making awesome things, and it's very inspiring and encouraging and welcome. It's a great place to ask questions. Now, if you would also like to learn about the tools used for the Cricut Joy and the Cricut Maker, because they can be different, I have lessons on those cutting machines tools as well. Get the links to those classes at CricutKickoff.com. Now, tomorrow I'll be back for lesson 3 of Cricut Kickoff, where we're going to dive into design space. We're going to go on the computer and on the iPad and on the Android. So everyone is covered. I will show you all the important things you can do, and then we will do a simple and fun project together using basic cardstock and a pen. All right, so if you have the Cricut Maker 3, you're going to want to find a piece of cardstock. It can be something you recycled, maybe from a holiday card. That would probably work just fine. You need 2 pieces. I recommend different colors for contrast, and a Cricut pen. Right? So you just want the basic Cricut pen. It doesn't really matter what the weight of it is. It could be a fine point. It can be a marker. Its part's not a big deal. Okay, so that's what you'll need for lesson 3. So that's it for today. So until our next lesson, this is Jennifer Maker reminding you to craft a life you love.